"Your daughter is downstairs," the voice on the phone said. "She's asking about your fall." My hand froze on the kitchen counter. A fall? I hadn't fallen. Not yesterday. Not last week. I set the phone down slowly, carefully, as if sudden movement might shatter something inside me that was already cracking. The clock on the wall showed 7:43 a.m. My back ached in that particular way it did some mornings. The dull throb that came from sleeping wrong, nothing more. Nothing that would explain why my daughter Sienna was downstairs telling people I'd taken a tumble. I made my way down the hallway. Each step felt deliberate, measured. Something in my chest had tightened, though I couldn't name it yet. The feeling was still formless, still just a shadow moving at the edge of my awareness. Sienna stood in my living room, phone in hand, dressed in the kind of outfit she wore to her social media shoots. Designer athleisure. Perfect makeup despite the early hour. She turned when she heard my footsteps, and her expression shifted into something practiced and bright. "Mom, thank God," she said, rushing toward me. "I was so worried when I heard about your fall." I looked at my daughter. Really looked at her. She was 32 years old. I'd raised her alone after her father left when she was 4. I'd worked double shifts at the hospital for 15 years to pay for her education. I'd sat with her through heartbreak, through career failures, through the dissolution of her first marriage. And now she stood before me with that carefully arranged concern on her face, and I realized I didn't recognize the person looking back at me. "I didn't fall," I said. My voice came out steady, which surprised me. Her expression faltered for just a moment. "What?" "I didn't fall, Sienna. I don't know what you're talking about." She laughed then, that light, dismissive laugh she'd perfected over the years. "Mom, you're confused. You probably don't even remember. Older people sometimes don't." "I'm 49 years old," I interrupted. "Not 99. And I remember everything that happens to my own body." She turned away from me, her fingers moving across her phone screen. I watched her, trying to understand what was happening. Something about this moment felt wrong, in a way I couldn't quite articulate. It was like watching someone perform a role they'd rehearsed, but hadn't quite mastered yet. "I posted about it," she said, not looking at me. "On my wellness account. Thousands of people have already seen it." My stomach tightened. "Posted what, exactly?" "A photo of you, with bruises. I was documenting the dangers of aging without proper support systems. It's actually getting really good engagement." I moved to the couch and sat down before my legs decided to do it for me. She'd posted a photo of me. To thousands of people. A photo that documented injuries I didn't have. Injuries I'd never sustained. "Show me," I said. Sienna hesitated, then turned her phone toward me. The image filled the screen. It was me, asleep in my bed, my arm positioned at an awkward angle. The lighting was professional. She'd clearly used a ring light or some kind of setup. Dark bruising was visible along my shoulder and upper arm. My face was partially visible, slack with sleep, vulnerable. Except I'd never been bruised like that. I reached for the phone, but she pulled it away. "Don't touch it. The comments are incredible. People are sharing their own stories about their parents' falls. It's actually helping people." "That's not real," I said quietly. "That bruising isn't real." "Mom, I was there. I saw you fall." She said it with such certainty, such conviction, that for just a moment I doubted myself. That was the most terrifying part. That brief moment where I wondered if I was the one losing my grip on reality. But then it passed. I knew my own body. I knew what had happened in my own home. When, I asked. When did I fall? Yesterday morning. You called me, remember? You were so scared. I hadn't called her. I'd spent yesterday morning at work, then come home and made dinner. I'd watched television. I'd gone to bed at 10 o'clock. There had been no fall, no emergency, no reason to call my daughter in a panic. Sienna, I need you to delete that photo. She looked at me with something that might have been pity. Mom, I can't do that. It's already been shared thousands of times. Besides, this is helping people. You should be proud that your experience is making a difference. My experience of what? Something that didn't happen? She turned away again, her attention back on her phone. You're not remembering clearly. Maybe you should see a doctor about that. I stood up. My hands were shaking now, not from fear, but from a rage so pure and crystalline, it felt like it could cut glass. My daughter had photographed me without my knowledge. She'd fabricated injuries. She'd shared my image with thousands of strangers, and she was gaslighting me about it. I want you to leave, I said. She looked up, surprised. What? Leave my house. Now. Mom, don't be like this. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to build awareness about... Leave. She gathered her things slowly, making a show of it. The victim. The misunderstood daughter trying to do good work in the world. She paused at the door, her hand on the frame. You're being really ungrateful, she said. I'm making money off this content. Actual money, sponsorships, and you're acting like I did something wrong. You fabricated injuries on your mother's body and posted them online without consent. That's not wrong. That's a crime. She laughed. No one's going to care about that. You're just being dramatic. Then she was gone, and I was alone in my house with the knowledge that my daughter had been in my bedroom while I slept, that she'd positioned my body, that she'd applied makeup or used some kind of technique to create bruising that didn't exist, that she'd done it all deliberately, with forethought and planning. I spent the next hour going through her social media accounts. I didn't have a personal account. I'd never seen the point, but I could access them through a browser. The wellness account had 43,000 followers. The photo of me had been posted 6 hours ago. It already had 12,000 likes and hundreds of comments. People were sharing their stories. People were thanking her for raising awareness. People were asking for more content about elder care and aging parents. One comment caught my eye. This is so important. My mom fell last year, and no one was there to help her. Thank God for content creators like you who are bringing attention to this issue. I read that comment 3 times. The person genuinely believed my daughter was doing good work. They believed the photo was real. They believed my daughter cared about her elderly mother. I was 49 years old. I was healthy. I worked full-time as a respiratory therapist at Presbyterian Hospital. I ran 3 miles every morning. I'd never had a fall. I'd never needed help getting out of bed. But in the minds of 43,000 people, I was now a fragile, vulnerable elderly woman who'd suffered a traumatic injury and had a daughter who was compassionate enough to document it for the sake of awareness. The rage came back, sharper this time. I pulled up my phone and called my daughter. Mom, hi, she answered immediately. I was just about to call you. The engagement is insane. We might be able to negotiate a sponsorship deal with a medical supply company. We're not doing anything, I said. Delete the photo. I already told you I can't delete the photo. Mom, you're being irrational. This is actually a really great opportunity. I could finally quit my job at the marketing firm. I could do this full-time. Don't you want me to be happy? I hung up the phone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed in the darkness, listening to every sound in my house. The creak of the floorboards, the hum of the refrigerator downstairs, the wind against the windows. I kept thinking about Sienna in my bedroom while I slept. How long had she been standing over me? How many times had she come into my room without my knowledge? I got out of bed and installed a lock on my bedroom door. I wasn't sure if it would help, but it made me feel slightly less vulnerable, slightly less like prey in my own home. By morning, the photo had been shared over 50,000 times. There was a news outlet that had picked it up, a local human interest story about adult children caring for aging parents. The headline read, "Daughter's social media campaign brings attention to elderly fall prevention." I was 50 years old. The article referred to me as elderly. I called a lawyer. His name was Robert Chen, and he worked out of a small office downtown. I explained the situation to him over the phone, and he asked me to come in immediately. His office was sparse and professional. He listened without interrupting as I told him everything. The photo, the fabricated injuries, the thousands of shares, the sponsorship deals, the way Sienna had gaslit me about whether the fall had even happened. "Do you have screenshots?" he asked. I pulled them up on my phone. I'd taken dozens of them the night before, documenting everything. The photo, the comments, the news article, the engagement metrics. Robert studied them carefully. When he looked up, his expression was grave. "This is serious. What your daughter has done is defamation. It's also a violation of your privacy and potentially identity theft, if she's using your image for commercial purposes without your consent." "Can I make her take it down?" "We can send a cease and desist letter. We can also file for a restraining order to prevent her from accessing your home without permission. And we can pursue legal action for damages." "I don't want to sue my daughter," I said. "You might not have a choice. If she continues this behavior, you'll need legal protection. And if she's making money off your image, you have every right to pursue damages for that." I left his office with a folder full of documents and a sense of unreality. I was going to have to take legal action against my own daughter. The thought made me feel sick. That night, I received a text from Sienna. "Mom, I'm sorry if you're upset, but I'm just trying to build my brand. Can't you be supportive of that?" I didn't respond. The next morning, I woke to find another photo posted to her account. This one showed me getting out of bed, my face contorted as if in pain. My hand was on my lower back, and the image had been edited to make it look like I was severely injured. The caption read, "Day 2 of Mom's recovery. She's struggling, but staying strong. Elder care. Family first? Raising awareness?" I called Robert immediately. "She posted another photo. Did you give her permission?" "No." "Then we're filing for a restraining order today, and we're sending a cease and desist letter. This has moved beyond defamation into harassment." The legal process moved slowly. By the time the cease and desist letter arrived at Sienna's apartment, the original photo had been shared over 200,000 times. News outlets had picked it up nationally. There was a trending hashtag, "Elder Care Matters." Sienna called me in tears. "Mom, they're saying I have to take everything down. They're threatening legal action. This is destroying my career." "Your career was built on a lie," I said quietly. "I was just trying to help people. I was trying to raise awareness. You were trying to make money off a fabricated injury, off my body. Without my consent." "Everyone does this," she said, and there was something almost desperate in her voice. "Everyone creates content. Everyone embellishes. It's not that big a deal." "It is a big deal when you're lying about your mother's health and medical condition. It's a big deal when you're making money off those lies. It's a big deal when you're doing it without permission. Are you really going to destroy me over this? Over a few photos?" I closed my eyes. My daughter was asking me to forgive her for a deliberate, calculated campaign of deception. She was asking me to be complicit in her lies. She was asking me to choose her career over my own dignity. "Yes," I said. "I am." I hung up the phone. The restraining order was granted 2 weeks later. Sienna was prohibited from coming within 500 feet of my home or my workplace. She was prohibited from posting any photos or videos of me on social media. She was prohibited from contacting me directly or through intermediaries. The hearing was brief and clinical. The judge reviewed the evidence, the screenshots, the photos, the comments, the news articles. She looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. "The respondent has clearly violated your privacy and used your image for commercial purposes without consent," the judge said. "This order will remain in effect for 2 years, with the possibility of renewal." Sienna sat on the other side of the courtroom, her face pale. She didn't look at me. I didn't look at her. Walking out of the courthouse, I felt something shift inside me. It wasn't relief, exactly. It was something more complicated. It was the knowledge that I'd done what I needed to do to protect myself, even though it meant protecting myself from my own daughter. The news outlets had a field day with the restraining order. The headlines shifted. "Daughter accused of fabricating mother's injuries for social media engagement." The narrative flipped. Suddenly, people were questioning whether Sienna's content had been real. Suddenly, the medical supply companies that had been interested in sponsoring her were backing away. She lost her job at the marketing firm. Her social media following dropped by half. The wellness account that had once had 43,000 followers was down to 18,000. The engagement on her posts plummeted. I felt nothing about any of it. What I felt was the absence of something. The absence of trust. The absence of the relationship I thought I had with my daughter. The absence of the person I thought she was. 3 months after the restraining order was granted, I received a letter from Sienna. It was handwritten, which surprised me. Everything about her had always been so carefully curated for public consumption. But this letter was messy, the handwriting shaky. "Mom," it began. "I don't know if you'll read this, but I need to try. I've been in therapy, and my therapist has been helping me understand what I did and why I did it. I think I was so desperate to be successful, to be important, that I lost sight of what mattered. I lost sight of you. I used you. I lied about you. I fabricated injuries on your body and posted them online for profit, and I gaslit you about it when you confronted me. I know that the restraining order means you don't have to see me or talk to me. I know that I've damaged our relationship in a way that might not be repairable. But I wanted you to know that I understand what I did was wrong. It was cruel. It was exploitative. And I'm sorry. I've deleted all the content, all of it. The wellness account is gone. The photos are gone. I'm not trying to build a social media presence anymore. I'm just trying to figure out who I am when I'm not performing for an audience. I understand if you don't want to respond to this. I understand if you never want to see me again. But I wanted you to know that I'm sorry. And I wanted you to know that I'm getting help." I read the letter 3 times. Then I put it in a drawer and didn't think about it for a week. When I finally did think about it, I realized that I didn't know if I believed her. I didn't know if the apology was genuine or if it was just another performance, another calculated move to manipulate my emotions. And that realization was almost more painful than the original betrayal. Because the truth was that I might never trust my daughter again. Not completely. Not the way a mother should be able to trust her child. I called my therapist. I'd started seeing one after the restraining order was granted, trying to process what had happened and what it meant for my sense of safety and family. Do you think I should respond to her letter? I asked. What do you want to do? Dr. Patricia asked. I don't know. Part of me wants to believe her. Part of me thinks she's just trying to manipulate me again. Those two things can both be true, Dr. Patricia said. She might be genuinely sorry, and you might still not be ready to forgive her. Those aren't mutually exclusive. But she's my daughter. Yes, and you're your mother. You have a responsibility to protect yourself. That phrase stuck with me. I had a responsibility to protect myself, not to protect my daughter's feelings, not to preserve a relationship that had been built on lies and exploitation, but to protect myself. 6 months after the restraining order, I ran into Sienna at the grocery store. I was in the produce section selecting tomatoes when I looked up and saw her standing by the lettuce. She saw me at the same moment. For a second, we just looked at each other across the distance of a few feet. Then she turned and walked away. I stood there holding a tomato, watching my daughter leave. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel sad. I felt tired. I felt the weight of everything that had happened and everything that could never be the same. I finished my shopping and went home. That night, I sat down and wrote a response to Sienna's letter. I didn't mail it. I just wrote it for myself, trying to organize my thoughts and my feelings into words. Sienna, I wrote, I read your letter. I don't know if I believe your apology yet. I don't know if I ever will. What I know is that you violated my trust in a way that I'm still trying to understand and process. You used my body without my consent. You lied about my health. You made money off those lies, and you gaslit me when I confronted you about it. I'm not ready to forgive you. I might never be ready, but I want you to know that I'm working on accepting what happened and moving forward. I'm working on building a life where I feel safe in my own home and safe in my own body. If you're genuinely getting help, I'm glad. I hope you figure out who you are when you're not performing for an audience. I hope you learn to value people over performance metrics. And I hope you understand that some things, once broken, can't be put back together. I'm not your mother right now. I'm just a woman trying to heal from what her daughter did to her. Maybe someday I can be your mother again. But not yet. I folded the letter and put it in the same drawer where I'd kept Sienna's apology. I didn't mail it. I didn't need her to read it. I needed to write it for myself. A year after the restraining order was granted, I received a notification on my phone. It was an alert from one of the news aggregator apps I used. The headline read, Social media influencer faces lawsuit for fabricating content. I clicked on it. The article was about Sienna. Apparently, other people had come forward, other people who claimed that Sienna had fabricated content about them, about their injuries, their illnesses, their vulnerabilities. She'd created an entire brand built on lies about other people's suffering. The lawsuits were mounting. Her bank account was being frozen. She was facing potential criminal charges for fraud. I felt nothing. What I felt was the absence of feeling. The absence of the daughter I thought I had. The absence of the relationship I thought we shared. The absence of the person I thought I was. The kind of person who would forgive anything if it meant preserving family ties. But I wasn't that person anymore. I couldn't afford to be. 2 years after the restraining order was granted, I was allowed to renew it or let it expire. I renewed it. I didn't think about Sienna much anymore. I'd built a new life. I'd made new friends. I'd learned to trust my own perceptions of reality, even when people tried to convince me otherwise. I'd learned that sometimes protecting yourself means cutting off the people who hurt you, even if those people are your own children. I'd learned that family isn't just about blood, it's about respect. It's about trust. It's about not violating someone's body and dignity for profit. I'd learned that I was stronger than I thought I was. Strong enough to stand alone. Strong enough to say no. Strong enough to walk away from the person who'd tried to convince me that I was losing my mind. Today, I'm 51 years old. I sleep with my bedroom door locked. I check my phone regularly to make sure no new photos of me have appeared online. I'm hyper-aware of my own body and my own boundaries in a way I wasn't before. But I'm also free. Free from the need to preserve a relationship that was destroying me. Free from the guilt of not being the kind of daughter who forgives everything. Free from the shame of having been used. Sometimes I think about Sienna. I wonder if she's learned anything from what happened. I wonder if she's in therapy still. I wonder if she's found a way to build a life that doesn't depend on exploiting other people's vulnerabilities. But mostly, I just live my life. I go to work. I see my friends. I take care of myself. I trust my own perceptions of reality. And if you're watching this right now, and you're wondering if you should protect yourself from someone who's hurting you, even if that person is family, the answer is yes. Always yes. Your safety, your dignity, your sense of reality. Those things matter more than any relationship. Protect yourself first. Everything else comes after.